Alright boys and girls, welcome back to another video here on Ludic's Aviation. Now Synaptic have finally released the Airbus A220 for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and as a real life A220 pilot actively flying the A220 for my airline, I think it's time for us to check it out and see how it stands up against its real world counterpart. See how realistic it actually is, what works, what doesn't work, and yeah, that's what we're going to do today. I think it's important to note before we start this that I'm no simulator expert. In fact, a lot of the stuff in the recording that you're going to see today was not really set up properly. I was just too excited to get in, to dive in. I've been waiting for this for ages, as probably have you. Let's get rocking and rolling. But the Breeze Airways livery is what I care about the most, and we're starting here from Orlando International, which is my home base in real life, and we're starting off out on the ramp here as if we're doing a walk around, which honestly the model looks really good. Have a look at the engines. Like when you're doing the walk around in the real world and you smell those engines, the smell that's coming off them is just so nice. I can't really explain it, but it just smells so nice. But the model looks absolutely brilliant. Walking around it here on the simulator, it looks like it does in the real world. They've done a really good job of modelling it. I will say that actually somebody's left the taxi and landing light on with absolutely no power attached to the aircraft and nothing on, so I don't know how that's happened, but yeah, anyway, let's hop inside. Here is the flight deck of the Airbus A220, and I'm going to come onto the iPad here on the left side and kind of toggle some stuff, bring over the jet bridge, which is really cool. Like, look at that. That is pretty cool. What's not cool is this joker here. He's wearing a tie. Firstly, we don't wear ties at my airline, and he's wearing a brown belt. What a freak. Anyway, let's have a look around the flight deck here, because they've modelled it actually really nice. Look at these clickable armrests. That's good. Clickable, fantastic. Always nice to see. They've obviously put a heck of a lot of work into this. Cockpit door opens. Let's have a look at the cabin here a little bit. But here we go. Parking brake on. Bat 1, bat 2. And we'll watch it load up. I've set it up to kind of do things a little bit quickly for some of the things, and some of the things I just haven't. Like I said, none of this is optimized. But here we are anyway. But that is the first startup flow, and then you put on DU2 the checklist up there, and then you can come up and do the checklist for the power on. ECL is up there, so we're gonna click that, and then you look at these hydraulic 3A, 3B and 2B. See how those are white? Watch what happens when you click that to auto. That is 3A. Come back over and all of a sudden it's gone green, meaning it's checked. That's a cool thing about our checklists on the A220, is that it senses positions. So now they're all in auto where they should be. They're checked off the list. Now we're going to get the external power on. Click that, and that is the pre-flight checklist complete. What I would say about this is the checklists are not fully how they are at my particular airline. Checklists can change from airline to airline, so it's not quite a match on that. But looking at the circuit breakers, there's a synoptic page which we'll go through in a second. Then you've got some physical circuit breakers as well. Up to the panel, seeing what stuff's clickable here and all that. Primary flight control computer 1, 2 and 3. The buttons here for the window heat. If you click them off, you should get an ICAS message, and there it is. There's the ICAS message for that. Just turn these off, see if they come up as well. Yep, you get the ICAS as well. So that's a nice touch. That is true to life, which is fantastic. And I'll tell you something, those windows get so hot in the summer in Orlando. It gets hot in the flight deck without any air. But we're going through the panel here, doing stuff. Throw the emergency lights on. This is actually a captain flow to go through the overhead panel. Go through the glare shield, having a look at that. There's no like weather information or anything like that that I'm going through, so I'm just going to set some random stuff. But you can see hectopascals or inches. You can change that on either side. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to come down. We've come down through the center panel to the pedestal. Rudder, this is one of the checks that the captain would do, but that's not clickable, it seems. But anyway, the FIDRAS test, which is the flight deck door. Do that little test, then you come over, you're going to do your oxygen mask. Up on the synoptic page, the flight control synoptic page, you see that side stick there going side to side? That's me moving my joystick. Now, you see how the blue ball kind of stops short of the edge of the line? That is something that I've noticed. That is going to what we call the soft stop on the side stick. There is a hard stop as well. But it doesn't seem to go to that for some reason. I don't know if that's something that I've not set up properly or something that there's just a bug in the in the software. But anyway, going through the Synaptic pages, you got all these different systems. You can see the external power is currently powering the system, flight control page, the fuel page. Now, I have actually played around with the fuel a little bit after I recorded this and figured this out, but I couldn't figure it out the first time around how to load more fuel onto the plane. I tried it. It was staying at 6,200 pounds, which for me is a little bit low if you consider that this thing burns about 4,000 pounds an hour up at cruise. You've not got much time though with 6,200 pounds. So anyway, on the avionic page here, I did the ice detector test, which is part of the captain flow for the setup, and for some reason I kept getting a ice detection fail indication for both left and right. That doesn't usually happen in the real world, but I suppose it gives us a chance to go through a non-normal checklist here. You can find the non-normal checklist, click it, and then off we go. Now, one thing is, you can see me clicking on the screen here. The worst thing that you can do, honestly, when you get into one of these planes is start using that screen as a touch screen. It's not a touch screen. There's fingerprints all over it. It gets filthy. It's annoying. So, although I am clicking it on this screen, because obviously I'm using a mouse, you do actually use a roller ball down on the pedestal to roll on and click the stuff. Pre-flight checklist here, just bang all that out. Again, that's not in the correct flow. Let's get setting up the FMS. Now, I'm just going to do an arbitrary little flight from Orlando down to Fort Lauderdale, and I'm going to show you how we set this up in real life. See how it matches up. So we're going to throw MCO there in the origin, Fort Lauderdale in the destination, cruise altitude, just an arbitrary flight, level 250. Departures, we're going to use 18 left, easy to get to. We're going to use the Danny. And then the arrival down there, we're going to use the RNAV, I think I chose, for 10 left. And we're going to do vectors, and the approach is going to be the CUDA 3 from Jipod. Throw all that in there. You see how easy this is to set up. That is one thing I would say about the A220. When anybody ever asks me how I feel about it, I say that it's such an easy bird to fly. I love flying it. The setup for it's easy. Just the I don't know, the way you control it's easy. I really enjoy it. But anyway, I'm just putting in some stuff here. Now, here on the fuel page, when you put in taxi fuel there, it doesn't come up, it stays at 0. That is maybe a little bug that I've seen. Same thing when you try and put in the block fuel. So the block fuel for the flight, we've got 6,200 pounds on board, so we're going to put that into that block fuel there. And you're going to see it's going to do exactly the same thing. It just zeroes out for some reason. Now, when you add a 0 fuel weight, it populates it, but yeah, anyway, until then, we're going to continue on. We're going to go to the perf. We usually climb 290.77. Cruise is usually 0.76, when I'm going to leave it at 0.78 that it is there, and I'm going to up it to 300 knots though. And then in the descent is usually 0.77 and 290 as well, so we're going to put that in there. 0.77/290, you can see it in that little window. That's what's being selected. There we go. Cool. And then we go over to the Via 2 page. Now you can see there's 2 Jipods there. We don't need 2 Jipods between on either side of the discontinuity, so we're going to pull up that Jipod and chuck it at the top, and then we should have a distance to go down here. It doesn't have it for some reason. I was able to pull that up on a subsequent flight after this. So I don't know. It seems like there's a few little bugs going on with the new thing. But here we go. Here's the route. You can come onto the plan page on the map and see the route. All the routes in there. This is after you put all that stuff in and get all the FMS set up. You would do a verification where you would verify the person that put the information into the FMS. The other person would then read from the FMS, while the guy that put it in would read from the paper and from the clearance that you get. This is the performance page where you put in all your performance stuff in there. TO2, flap 2, bleeds on the engines, wing anti-ice and cowl anti-ice are off, and I'm putting in some arbitrary numbers from V1, VR and V2. This is all stuff we would do in the real world though. We'd get our performance data, and then we'd read it back and forth between each other, and the first officer usually reads it. The captain usually puts it into the box just like that, and then we come to a little flow here. You can see the FMA up there on the PFD. You're going to click this right there, and you're going to see TO there, and you're going to see the pitch target markers for takeoff. Those are going to come in handy when we do eventually take off. It would help if I actually put into the altitude selector. An altitude 7,000 feet will do. So that's all good. That's pretty good. It's looking good so far. Then we come to another captain flow where we're putting on the seatbelt, taking off the trim air, and we're going to run the APU. So run the APU over the start for 3 seconds, and then bing bang boom, APU started. It takes longer than that. That's a hard cut. The APU is now on. We're going to get the external power off, and we're going to disconnect the GPU. Bye-bye. We're going to get rid of the chocks. And you can see on the electric page there that the APU is now powering the electrics. That's pretty cool how it does that switch. What I have seen in this is it tends not to like the power switching back and forth. You'll get some messages or get some errors. Once all that's done, we do the power or the before start checklist. Once those doors are closed, get that time started so we can get pitted. Now we're going to get this thing pushed back, going to ground equipment, and get the push back going, and off we go. We are off the gate, nearly. I think it's pretty cool. Like the visuals of it, like look at that bird. I think the A220 is just such a nice looking plane. But we're going to start the left engine. Pushback complete. Clear to set brakes. Now the ground crew are clear to disconnect, go to hand signals, and off they goes. The engine is starting, and you're just monitoring. Once it gets to about 62 on the N2, you should see the start icon go away. There it goes, and the engine gets coloured in there. On the F4 side, I should have up the flight control synaptic page. Let's pull that up. Come on. There we go. And you'll see that the engine is coloured in on the left side as well, so that tells you that that's a normal start on that left engine. And then you are waiting for green lines on the air page here. So while we're doing that, we're going to set our runway heading, and you can see now we've got the green lines on there. The captain would ask for the right engine to be started, and there it comes, coming up 62 N2, and the engine start icon is gone, and there we go. And then that's going to trigger a before taxi checklist, which is checking your hydraulic is where it needs to be. The captain gets rid of the APU, throws the trim air on. Down here for the F4, you're going to set the flap setting, which is number 2. We're going to do the before start checklist. No steer, click. See how that clicks off, clicks on, and then it goes white and then to green. ICAS and info checks. Now those right and left ice detector fail. So I'm just going to fly with them on. It's a simulator. I'm not calling maintenance. But you can see here what I was going through here is when you've set up your departure performance, you can see on there it says wing anti-ice and cowl anti-ice are off. I wanted to see if I turned those on for takeoff if we would get a disagreement here, and lo and behold, we did. FMS perf departure config. That is telling us that something isn't set correctly. You can see those are supposed to be off. I put them on, so we're going to put those back to auto, and then we should get rid of that message, and we do. So that is a really nice touch from the guys here. They've obviously put a heck of a lot of work into this. It's ridiculous, but here we go. We're ready to taxi. Let's start moving, and this is cool. The realism on this is so sick, man. Like, you know, if your grandma was watching, she'd probably think it was real. You know what I mean? Auto throttle is armed, runway heading is checked, and the realism is fantastic. You can see that thrust is in white, AT is in white, and the realism stops there, doesn't it, really? Forgot to turn traffic off, but that's all right. That's okay. You go first. No worries. Before takeoff checklist is complete, we're gonna spool up to about 55 N1 stable, and then we're gonna advance the power levers, and the auto throttle is gonna take over. So that would be thrust check. Whoever's pilot flying would say thrust, the other guy would say check. So here we go. We're going to wait for 80 knots, and then it's going to be 80 knots thrust set. 80 knots thrust set, there it is. And then we're waiting for V1. Here we go, with another aircraft on the runway. Realism again. It's alright, mate. V1. Rotate. Now you're pitching up towards the pitch target markers. I didn't do a very good job of this first time on the simulator. Positive rate, gear up. Up comes the gear. pitch target markers go away, and then you can go on to the flight director there. Again, I didn't really do a good job, but you can see the FMA is changed to FMS1. I've thrown the autopilot on there. Two things were bound to the same thing, but autopilot's on. So here we go. Now, 1,000 feet is usually our acceleration altitude. I realised that it was set to 2,000 for some reason on this. This is where I kind of look down to see there's 2,000 there for the accel. At 2,000, you're going to see VTO change to VFLC. VFLC. So now the aircraft is going to start to accelerate. You can see it's gone up to 200 knots. And you can see the F bug here. That F1 bug, once we're above that, usually wait to about 10 knots above F1 bug, you can start getting those flaps up, so you can go to flap 1 and so on and so forth. So the aircraft is turning towards Cape, which is the first fix, which is fantastic. Looking good, looking good. So above the F1 bug, wait just a little bit more, then pilot flying will call for flap 1. There it goes, and then you're going to see an F0 bug, which is for flaps 0. Fantastic, isn't it? Easy, really, when you think about it. Pretty straightforward. We're going to increase the altitude. We're going to go up to 10,000 feet. Let's pretend that we got given that by the departure control. Alright, coming up to about 10 knots above F0, flap 0, after takeoff checklist. Now look at the after takeoff checklist, how easy this is. Everything there is green because it's already been selected. The only thing you need to do is the pilot monitoring is check the ICAS, which is easily done. ICAS checked, after takeoff checklist complete. That's a silent checklist, by the way. And up we go. Speed's changed to 250, and we are flying. So from the ground up until this point, it's actually been really, really good. I've not really got too many complaints about it. It is a little bit buggy here and there. This has been good so far. Let's see if we change where we're going. We're going to Cockpit. You go direct to FMS1. And off we go, we're going to Cockpit. One thing that I did notice while I was doing this, and I've just noticed now, is that I didn't have my PFD set up correctly. I'll show you how it should be set up in a second, because I do see it change. But look at that model. Look at that. I fly that bird. Ridiculous. So cool. So while we're climbing up, let's check this. Cockpit door opens and closes, and once you do open it, you should get an ICAS message, cockpit door open. You do get that. Again, really good from the team that have created this to get that on there. Let's climb up a little bit more. Missed the call out there for the climb, but FLC, and up we go. So 250 set, and VFLC. Checking the FMA. Show you the Synaptic pages in flight, see how these are looking. You get some engine information there. The APU is obviously not in operation, we turned it off, but you can have a look at the air pages. Door page, everything's closed. Electric, you can see the left VFG, the right VFG are on. Doing the thing, flight control, yeah. Fuel, now looking at that fuel, we've got 4,300 pounds left on board the aircraft. That's not a good position to be in. But I couldn't figure out how to change it. I did figure out after recording this how to do that to add more fuel, but yeah, whatever. Well, those are Synaptic pages. Tons of information to go by. Now, what I wanted to look at here is if you click the screen, this is something you can actually do on the actual bird. You can click on the map and you can select a point to go direct to. And I wanted to see if it would do it on the sim, and it does. It absolutely does. So then, if we wanted to change the fix after our new fix, let's say we want to go to Weehoo. Weehoo is now been selected. You just bring it up to the fix below where we're going, and then you can see on the map, you can see we're going to our fix, and then after it, we're going Weehoo. So cool. Now, what I've done here is, just before we do that, I'm actually setting up the page as it should be set up. Weather should be selectable. Weather, for some reason, is not selectable on that page. But you can see we're going to put vertical situation display. That is going to show you your profile, your side profile view of what's going on. So you can see we're climbing up towards top of climb there. And our next altitude to go down to is 2200 feet. Let's say we got cleared down to 2200. You got V alt at the moment, and you got this V path in white. Now watch what happens as we come close to this top of descent. You see we've got 2200, which is the constraint. We've got 2200, which is set in blue next to it. And then once this marker starts to come down, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So you can see now it's coming in. You're going to see this VL is going to change to V path. So we've caught this path. You can see on the vertical situation display, we've caught the path, and now the plane is doing what it needs to do to maintain that 3-degree glide path down to 2200 feet at that fix. So it's doing its thing. Really, really cool. You can see on the FMA we've got that limb there, that is for the auto throttles. It's screaming out for help at the moment because we got to go down to a speed of 290 knots, and it's struggling to do it. That is one thing about the A220 that I have found. It's a joke between us all. You can go down, you can slow down, but you can't do both at the same time. It does not like slowing down in a descent. So, speed brakes. One little bug that I saw with this, it went to max there on the spoiler thing. Max is only used in an emergency situation, but you can go to full as much as you want. And we can see them on the outside. That's looking good on the model, looking fantastic. Speed brakes are out helping us slow down to that 290 knots. And you can see we're already there at 290 knots. So let's say I'm going to keep those speed brakes out for absolutely no reason at this point because, yeah, got too much to think about. But our next fix is at 1800 feet. So I'm going to set 1800. That doesn't mean that the plane is going to go down to 1800 feet. No. We've still got that constraint of 2200 feet in there, and it's going to respect that 2200 even though we've got the 1800 set in. Now I'm going to pretend at this point that we've been cleared for the approach, so I'm going to hit the approach button, and you can see on the FMA it goes to approach FMS 1. So now we're in approach mode. So now we've got the final approach fix altitude set in 1800s, but the plane's going to respect that 2200 feet. So we're going to cross Seoul 2200, then we're going to cross Nove 1800, and then we're going to intercept a glide path, and you're going to see how it does that in a second. Over we come. We are slowing down. I decided to try and slow this thing down really early. We're coming in on basically a 90-degree angle to the final approach course, but we are below 220 knots. So pilot flying would go flap 1. For flap 2, we have to be below 200 knots for flap 3 as well. So I'm going to slow this down. We're going to do that because I'm single pilot here on a simulator that I've not used in a very long time, in a plane on the simulator that I've not used at all. Flap 3 speed is 200 knots as well. You can see the flaps are out there. We got the slats out too. Looking beautiful. Absolutely incredible model. Beautiful. Lauderdale's over there in the distance. Come back inside. I'm going to start to slow it down even further. You can see on the PFD it's showing Seoul, track of 187, time to go 1.7, nautical miles 5.6. Get that gear down. Gear down is below 250 knots. But usually gear down and flap 3 come pretty quickly after each other, so gear down, flap 3, that's the call out. And then the pilot monitoring will go gear down, select the gear down, and then speed check, flap 3. You can see that the gear indication is there. 1.6 to Seoul, it is anticipating that turn, and the FD mode change there. Sometimes, honestly, that does happen in the real plane. You can see it's got VGP in white below it, and there is the VGP. So we've caught the glide path for this approach. So here we go. Now I'm going to slow down to my final approach speed. You didn't see me set some stuff up for the approach, but VREF is 131 plus 5 if you're using auto throttle. That is a limitation. You have to add 5 knots if you're using auto throttle, which we are doing. So you can see the VREF bug is in green, and then you get the magenta VREF plus 5 as your target there. So we're going to bring the speed down to there, and the plane's just doing it. Auto throttles are working. We've set up, we need to be stable by 1,000 feet on the guidance. 1,000. Stable. we continue down at 500 feet. I think I click this off and just be prepared for the absolute worst landing you've seen. The situation just goes to shit after this because I clicked off the autopilot and I didn't realise that I'd not set up the stuff correctly to stop the autopilot chime. So I've turned the autopilot back on. I've absolutely accidentally put the gear back up there. Just put that down again quickly. Autopilot's back on. Plane doesn't know what I want it to do, so we're high. Come up to 500 feet. I've clicked it off again. We'll say we're stable. Let's dive and drive. We're 4 whites. We're going to hear the chime. Oh god, what an absolute nightmare. But here we go, we're going to try and put it down anyway. Speed's kind of where I want it. 2 whites, 2 reds. We'll just smash into the runway here. We'll just spider web the runway. And chiropractor. I couldn't figure out how to get reverse. I'd not set that up correctly either. So it's just a nightmare. But anyway, we're down. No problem, kind of. And that, my friends, is the Airbus A220 from Synaptic on Microsoft Flight Simulator. Absolutely brilliant. They've modelled it fantastically. There's a few bugs here and there, but that is how... So what I look for with something like this, I'm looking to have the experience that I have in the real world and bring it onto the simulator. And I can do that for the most part. There's a few things here and there that I think need to be kind of adjusted and tweaked and stuff, but for the most part, you can fly this bird how you would in the real world. And I think that's all you can ask for from a simulator. Very, very good. Worth the wait, I'd say. Worth the wait. I think they've done a really incredible job. So that is the review from a real-world A220 pilot. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, a little bit different than I usually do on this video. If you want to see anything else about the A220, we can do it in the sim. Let me know in the comments what you want to see me do. If you've enjoyed it, like the video, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Thank you for being here. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Well done, Synaptic. Really well done.